Step into your adventures in dreamland. Soft, surreal, and slightly cheeky sleep stories with awe and wonder. I'm Serene, your guide tonight. I'm so glad you're here. However your day unfolded, I'm grateful to be a part of how it ends. I'd love to know where you're listening from and what time it is. I read every comment. Every tap helps pay the cloud mortgage here in Dreamland. And if your finger ever drifts towards the subscribe button, rumor has it your sleep deepens by 11%. Not proven, just whispered. I say the science is still out. Now we return to what we are. It's strange. People have no idea. There are only 3 states of being, and you move through all of them every night. Right now, we're in our most superficial state, awake, bound by the senses and ego, influenced by the outward stimuli of the physical world. And while dreaming, the subconscious is in control, projecting stored impressions, thoughts, desires, no longer governed by the physical rules. And in deep sleep, there are no dreams, no mental activity, no ego, just a temporary return to the pure awareness of the soul, united with the divine, though you won't remember it. Bliss without awareness, tasting divine peace, what yogis pursue in stillness and saints devote lifetimes to finding. So relax. Let go. You are returning back to your inherent state. Freedom. Your story begins. The Rain Doesn't Ask Permission is episode 49 and the second in our Dreamy Stoicism series that lives inside of our Dream Priming playlist, where stories send you off to sleep with golden nuggets for the mind and subconscious. Tonight, we'll enjoy 2 stories that focus on letting go of control and choosing perspective. Let's begin with story number 1, Seneca's Storm. The ship groans, not a creak, a groan, deep in the hull, where the wood bends against water that doesn't care what it breaks. You grip the rail and think of all the ways to test my philosophy. The universe chose seasickness. Rain drives sideways across the deck. The sky has forgotten the sun. Somewhere behind the clouds, it's midday, but out here, off the coast of Sicily, time has drowned alongside your confidence. You are Seneca, philosopher, statesman, advisor to emperors, and right now, a man trying very hard not to vomit. The voyage was supposed to be simple, a short crossing, calm waters promised by a captain who clearly owed money to an optimist. Now the sea has other plans, and you are not the man you wrote about. 1. The Philosopher Undone. You've written about fear, pages of it, scrolls, letters to friends, explaining how a wise man meets danger with calm, how death is only a doorway, how the mind can rise above any storm. Beautiful words, steady thoughts, and now the deck tilts beneath you, and all those words feel like someone else's. Your stomach lurches, your knuckles whiten on the rail. A wave crashes against the bow, and the ship shudders like it's considering surrender. A sailor stumbles past, rope coiled over his shoulder, face set in grim routine. He doesn't look afraid. You envy him, not because he's braver, but because he doesn't have a reputation for wisdom to betray. Thunder rolls overhead, not a crack, but a slow, deliberate growl, as if the sky is clearing its throat before delivering bad news. You close your eyes. You try to summon the teachings, the principles, the calm you've preached to senators and students. But your body doesn't care about philosophy. Your hands shake. Your breath comes shallow and sharp. And somewhere in your chest, a small voice whispers, "You are a fraud." 2. The storm within. The rain hammers harder now. You duck beneath a flapping canvas awning, soaked through, shivering. Around you, the crew moves with purpose, adjusting sails, shouting orders, tying down anything that might become a weapon in the wind. You are useless here. You know it. They know it. So you sit and you feel. The fear isn't rational. You know this. The ship has survived worse. The captain has sailed these waters 100 times. But knowing and feeling are different countries, and right now, they don't share a border. You think of your letters, the ones where you wrote so confidently about fear. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Your own words, mocking you now, because the storm outside isn't what's killing you. It's the storm in your head, the images, the possibilities, the ship splitting, the water closing, the gasping, the end. None of it is happening. All of it feels real. Try to reason with yourself. It's just water. It's just wind. You faced worse in the Senate, men who wanted you dead and smiled while they plotted. But logic doesn't land. The body doesn't speak Latin. You whisper your own words under your breath, the ones you wrote last winter in the comfort of your study. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. They should help. They're supposed to help. They don't, and that failure, the failure of your own philosophy to rescue you, feels worse than the storm. For a long moment, you sit with that, the shame of it, the gap between who you teach yourself to be and who you are when the deck tilts. Then a strange thought surfaces. What if the teaching was never meant to stop the fear? What if it was only ever meant to keep you company inside it? You don't know yet. But the question loosens something. You press your palms against the wet wood beneath you, grounding yourself. The ship is here. You are here. The next wave hasn't come yet. And maybe, just maybe, that's all you need to survive this moment, not the next. 3. The turning. A wave crashes. The ship tips. Your stomach drops. For a long, terrible second, you're certain this is it. And then the ship rights itself. The hull holds. The world steadies. You exhale. And something in you, something stubborn and tired of its own panic, finally speaks. What exactly are you afraid of? Dying? You've written about death 100 times. You called it a release, a return, nothing to fear. Pain? It ends. Everything ends. The unknown? That's just life, wearing a different mask. You sit up straighter. The rain hasn't stopped. The wind hasn't eased. But something has shifted anyway. You stop fighting. Not the storm. You can't fight that. You stop fighting yourself. The fear is here. Fine. Let it be here. It doesn't have to leave for you to be steady. Bravery was never the absence of fear. It was the decision to act anyway. And in that truth, one you'd written but never truly felt, you find something unexpected. Freedom. 4. The calm that comes. The storm passes, not all at once, but slowly, like an argument that runs out of words. The waves ease, the wind softens, the rain thins to a whisper. You stand. Your legs are unsteady. Your robes cling cold and heavy, but you stand. The crew moves around you, slower now, wringing out clothes and checking damage. One of them nods at you, not with respect exactly, but with something like recognition. You survived. That's enough. You walk to the bow. The horizon is gray, but lighter now. Somewhere ahead, land waits. Safety. Solid ground. But that's not what you're thinking about. You're thinking about what you learned. Not from books. Not from teachers. From the storm itself. That philosophy isn't armor. It doesn't protect you from fear. It gives you somewhere to stand while the fear does what it will. A thought rises. Your own words, but truer now than when you first wrote them. He who is brave is free. Not because the brave feel no fear, but because they stop letting fear choose for them. You close your eyes. The rain still falls, softer now, almost gentle. It taps against the wood like fingers asking permission to stay, and you let it, because the rain doesn't ask permission, and neither does life. The only question is how you meet it. And tonight, You met it standing. The ship sails on. The water smooths beneath it like a hand unclenching. And you, philosopher, student, survivor, you rest against the rail and let your breath slow. The fear hasn't vanished, but it no longer owns you. Somewhere below, the hull still creaks, a ship remembering what it survived. Somewhere above, the clouds begin to part, and somewhere inside you, a truth settles like an anchor, finding sand. You don't have to stop the storm. You just have to stop drowning in the one you imagined. The rain fades, the ship steadies, and you close your eyes, not to escape, to rest. End of our first story. The Archer and the Wind. The rain has slowed, but the wind stays. You stand at the edge of a training field outside the city walls, bow in hand, quiver at your hip. The grass bends sideways in steady pulses, like the earth is breathing and can't quite catch its breath. You blink against the gust and think, great. The one day I decide to practice, the sky decides to audition for a disaster painting. The target stands 50 paces ahead, a straw circle wrapped in faded cloth, marked at the center with a single black dot. Simple, still, unimpressed by the chaos around it. You notch an arrow, draw, release. The arrow bends mid-flight, shoved sideways by a gust you didn't see coming. It lands 3 feet left of the target, buried in the dirt like an apology. You exhale. Try again. This time you aim right, compensating. The wind shifts. The arrow drifts further right, past the target entirely, skipping across the grass like it gave up halfway. Your jaw tightens. Again. Miss. Again. Worse. The wind doesn't mock you. It doesn't care enough to mock. It simply exists, uncontrollable, indifferent. And with every missed shot, something inside you tightens another notch. You want to force the arrow through the air, bend the wind by will alone. Hit the target because you deserve to hit it, because you've tried hard enough. But the wind doesn't know what you deserve. It only knows what is. You lower the bow. Your arms ache. Your fingers sting from the string. And for a moment, you just stand there, still as the target, loud as the wind inside your chest. 2. The old instructor. You're fighting it. The voice comes from behind, low, unhurried, like gravel smoothed by decades of patience. You turn. An old man sits on a stone bench at the edge of the field, arms folded loosely across his chest. His face is weathered, carved deep by years and wind and something else, maybe war, maybe wisdom. Maybe both. A former centurion, you've heard. Retired now, though his posture still holds rank. He watches you the way a river watches a stone, without urgency, without judgment. The wind, you say, gesturing vaguely, it keeps shifting. He nods slowly. It does. You wait for more. He offers nothing. The silence between you fills with wind. Finally, he shifts just slightly and speaks again. I once trained under a man who had studied with the Stoics, spent 10 years learning philosophy before he ever picked up a sword. Strange path for a soldier, but he was the finest archer I ever knew. You lower your bow, listening now. He told me something I didn't understand for years. The old man's eyes drift toward the target, then back to you. He said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish. You frown. Epictetus, the old man adds, as if reading your confusion. A slave who became a teacher, walked with a limp his whole life. His master broke his leg, and it never healed right, but he understood something most men never do. The wind gusts, the grass hisses, the target sways on its post. He understood, the old man continues, that the arrow doesn't care about your effort. The wind doesn't care about your aim. The only thing you control, the only thing, is how you stand inside yourself, while everything else does what it will. He falls silent again. You look at the bow in your hands, then at the arrows scattered across the field. Evidence of your struggle, your resistance, your war with the air. The old man doesn't tell you what to do. He just watches, letting the lesson land, or not, on its own terms. And somewhere in the silence, you begin to hear what he hasn't said. You notch another arrow. This time, you try to remember. Don't force. Don't fight. Listen. You draw. You aim. No, you don't aim. You try not to aim. The arrow flies. It misses. Not as badly, but still wide. Still wrong. Your jaw tightens. You feel the frustration rise. Hot, quick, familiar. The lesson was right there. You understood it. So why didn't it work? The old man watches. He says nothing. You grab another arrow, faster this time. Draw, release, miss. You exhale sharply. It's not working. He still says nothing, just watches, patient as stone. And somewhere in that silence, you realize you were trying to perform the lesson, not live it. You were forcing yourself not to force, controlling your way out of control. The wind gusts, the grass bends, and you stand there, not ready yet, but closer, embarrassed enough to finally stop pretending. 3. The lesson. The old man rises slowly from the bench. His knees crack. He doesn't seem to notice. He walks toward you, not with urgency, but with the kind of weight that makes you stand a little straighter without knowing why. He stops a few feet away and holds out his hand, the bow. You hesitate, then hand it over. He holds it loosely, fingers resting on the wood like he's greeting an old friend. He doesn't draw, doesn't aim, just feels the weight of it. You're trying to beat the wind, he says quietly. But the wind isn't your enemy. It's not even your obstacle. He turns the bow over in his hands. The obstacle is here. He taps his chest. The part of you that believes you must control everything to succeed. The wind gusts between you. The grass bows. The archer who fights the wind, he continues, will exhaust himself and hit nothing. But the archer who listens to it, who feels it shift and moves with it instead of against it, he becomes part of the flight. He hands the bow back to you. Don't aim at the target. You frown. Then what do I aim at? He smiles, just barely. Nothing. Aim at nothing. Let the wind tell you where the arrow wants to go. Your only job is to release it, without interference. You stare at him. It sounds absurd. It sounds like failure dressed in philosophy, but something in his eyes, steady, clear, unhurried, makes you pause. He steps back and folds his arms again. Try. For the release. You notch the arrow. The wind presses against your back. Your instinct is to tense, to calculate, to adjust, to control. But this time, you don't. You breathe. You feel the bow in your hands, the string against your fingers, the weight of the arrow, patient and still. You feel the wind, not as a problem, but as a fact. It moves left. It gusts. It softens. It's doing what wind does. And you realize you were never supposed to stop it. You were only ever supposed to let go. You draw the string back, slowly, without force. Your eyes rest on the target, but you don't grip it with your gaze. You let it blur. Let the outcome soften. The wind gusts again, and in the space between breaths, you release. The arrow flies. It bends. Yes. The wind takes it, curves it, carries it sideways for a heartbeat, and then it finds the center, not by force, by surrender. The old man says nothing. He doesn't need to. You stand there, arms still raised, chest open, breath slow. Something has shifted, not in the wind, not in the target, in you. The old man's voice drifts across the field, softer now. No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't have, and to cheerfully put to good use what they do. Seneca. You recognize it now. Another Stoic, another man who understood. You lower the bow. The wind still blows. The grass still bends. Nothing outside has changed, but you are no longer at war with it. The old man turns and begins walking back toward the city, his silhouette steady against the gray sky. He doesn't say goodbye. He doesn't look back. He doesn't need to. You stay a while longer, alone on the field. The wind softens, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe you just stopped measuring it. The target holds your arrow like a secret it will keep. And somewhere deep in your chest, a quiet voice whispers what you already knew but needed to feel. Control was never the path. It was the obstacle. The field dims, the wind hushes, and you begin to drift, not away from the lesson, but deeper into it. Your breath slows, your shoulders drop, the bow fades from your hands, the grass fades beneath your feet, and what remains is stillness. The kind you don't fight for, the kind you finally let arrive. Sleep now. Good night.